There are a couple of things I want to talk about. Is this idea of the historical documentary filmmaker and the enormous job we have to clear all the materials that we use in a documentary, but also the fact that in that process you're also looking at a kind of limitation on not only the use but also the life of the film. There are quite a few films that I've been involved in that are no longer in circulation. Frederick Douglass, Eyes on the Prize is not in circulation anymore, in home video or on television. Malcolm X, Make It Plain, it's not available on television or in home video. The Great Depression that we did at Blackside has lost its rights. Dancing, which I did for film segments for WNET. Even Africans in America is soon about to lose its license on public television. And the only way it can go back on is if, in fact, people decide they want to pay that licensing fee again, and then also go back and pay the fees to those who have offered us material in the films. Which is not a small thing, especially if those films come out of your independent company like mine. There's no way I can go back and come up with maybe the $100,000 to $200,000 it costs to license the footage, and that's not talking we're not talking about licensing the music as well. As a program officer at the Ford Foundation, I find myself back involved with Eyes on the Prize because we're actually trying to get it back on the air and back in circulation. And one of the things I'm trying I guess, seed as a discussion with those that I'm working with, those who own licenses and that we're talking to about getting it back in circulation, is there some way that we can take historical pieces that are in many ways not only a record of history and a valuable piece in how we teach history, but also a record of the moment in which they're made, and something that and acknowledging the fact that this is something that's going to keep going on from one generation to the next. We hope that moments in history are continually interpreted in each new generation. How do you take these pieces and allow them to be openly available to the public? Is there some way we could decide that after renewing rights and licenses so many times they can fall in some sort of semi-public domain status or in a total public domain status? Is that something as a society that we think is important? I think these are all big issues that we're dealing with, and ways that not only, it's not something that just takes place in the offices of lawyers, but I think has to be something that is a part of a public discussion. And the last piece that I did is a really complicated piece, because I went back to a historical documentary piece in this era of the civil rights movement. I had for a long time tried to develop a documentary on Dr. King. And this last year was his 75th anniversary of his birthday, and I felt it was very important to bring his voice back into the kind of public discourse around issues of war and poverty, and had for the last 6 years been actively pursuing it, writing scripts and proposals and trying to get the film in motion. Where I found resistance was from those who were the heirs of the estate, not from the archival houses, not from the photographers, not from those who worked with them, but those who were the owners of the estate. And we were in long negotiations, and at a certain point I decided that I had to just move forward and make this film because I felt it needed to be made now. It got kind of ugly for a while. It got very ugly for a while. I did this with The American Experience, and we had to indemnify all of the licensees, all the archival houses, all the photographers when we, in producing this film, and convince them that we were working in, again, this space called fair use. Fair use in the context of who has the right to interpret history. And when is a person a historical character and one available to all of us, and when is it one that's protected by the rights of an estate? It's a very complicated discussion.
Or any other occasion. I remember Easter of 1963, when my husband was jailed in Birmingham. I had just had my 4th child.
One of the things that became such a real challenge was that, or problem was that we wanted, it was very important for us, we really wanted, number one, Mrs. King in the movie, and because of our difficulty negotiating the making of the film, we could never get to that place to even engage that conversation. the other piece was that what we were really fighting over were his words, and to hear his voice and to experience his voice in the film. And how can you make a film about Dr. King and not, hear his voice and not hear and be privileged to his words?
For redemption.
I've long since learned that be a follower of Jesus Christ means taking up the cross. My Bible tells me that Good Friday comes before Easter.
The other interesting piece about the difference between this film and Eyes on a Prize is that I no longer use recorded music. That all the films I work on now are scored, because I think if we're going to have a really difficult time bringing Eyes back into making it available to the public again and bringing it back into the classrooms and into the public, I don't think we're going to be able to crack the nut of the music industry. That is the hardest license to negotiate, and that has become much more consolidated and difficult to engage in any sort of what's the right word when you have one fee for everyone. Favorite nation, even a favorite nation negotiation. So that's going to be our most difficult task. So it's a possibility, and that would be a real shame that if we bring it back, we'd have to score the entire 16 hours, which takes so much away from that record of history.